Hello, everyone. We're back. I have Starbucks instead of alcohol because, though today was a bit messy, that does not mean that I need to be tipsy 2 weeks in a row. So I got Starbucks. It's okay. And what does Thomas have? Guns. He's got guns.
Oh, my back.
Oh, wait. How do you do that? Yeah.
How do you do that? I don't know. Do I still have anything? Let's see. Oh, yeah. It's just thick arm because I used to just lift heavy weights, so I don't have like the definition. I'm drinking my the Diet Cherry Pepsi today. I might get a water on one of the sprints, but this is how I'm slowly trying to call it a day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I have water.
Can you send me?
Yeah, I have water, but I don't know if I'm going to drink it because I have the lavender oat milk chill and what's it called? Mango dragon fruit. Yeah, I'm prepared.
You're always prepared.
I don't know how much I'll write. Okay, I say that every single time. Yes, I do. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I'm not prepared. I don't know if I'm going to write like anything this first one because I have to order movie tickets for my friend and I on Saturday, and I might also eat. I forgot to do the movie tickets. I'm so sorry, so I'm going to do that before they go away. And I forget which movie, but
is it a newer movie or is it
that out for 20 minutes?
Has the movie been there or something? And you're like, oh, people are going to buy the hell out of this shit.
It's like it's some horror movie. I forget.
See, Nicole just vanished. She just boom. Welcome to the blackout. Yeah. The world is a vampire. Anyway, so today, what's going on, people?
Why is it doing that? Okay, so I guess that's shit.
Yeah, that hit you today. That hit you.
Okay. I don't know what happened there.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know what we're. There we are. There I am. I guess it doesn't want us to be chatty.
I don't know why. When
Which
we
is
are
kind
chatty,
of the whole point for like at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, the world feels better, after we chat. Is anyone watching right now? How many we got? What, 30? What do we got? 30 people watching? If you're watching the show, feel free to comment. We're at
like I can't even tell.
It's right.
Oh my effing god. I can't see anything now. That's cool. Yeah, my internet's crap. I don't know what is going on.
Is anyone else using the internet at a high speed?
I don't know. I have to go check with my husband because this never happened before. I'm like, what are you doing down there? Yeah, we have one viewer, and they would be very upset if this disconnected.
Remember, if it does disconnect, though, just log back on. Like, don't stop the recording because it'll keep going. It just, sometimes it'll kick you off. But yeah.
Oh, it does.
Yeah. Because the studio stays recording live. It's just you got kicked from the room, so you got to just log back into the room. But ultimately, it is what it is. Does he play streaming? Is he a streamer?
Don't you pop up?
Oh no, I stay here. I stay in the room.
I don't think he's playing anything. Oh, you stay, but don't you get kicked off the broadcast? That I had to add you back.
No, as long as I don't get, as long as my
continue if I poop out.
Yeah, I'll be able to go. Hey, look at me! I'm a clown, and I'll entertain as best I can. I'm very shy on camera.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, I mean, even though we've only been in for 5 minutes, maybe we should start. And so then I go downstairs and I'm asking, "What are you doing?" So that might be it.
Do it up.
Help
Let's do
me.
it.
What's going on?
You help me. Help me. Help you.
Alrighty.
What is this, Jerry Maguire? Where he's like,
I
help
don't know
me, help
anymore.
you.
But we'll see how this
Help.
goes. Oh yeah.
All right. I'll hit the thing. You ready? We're
Here we
gonna
go.
start.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Tingle Tingle. Hello, everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just gonna keep my I'm gonna keep my camera off because now it's like working. It was slow for my husband too, but like he was just on his phone. It was being weird. I think everyone knows what I look like, and for this stream to continue, we just have me off. I think it'll be fine. Not like I have an ugly mug or anything, but y'all know what I look like.
I'm forgetting what you look like as we speak.
Well, you can look up my pictures on Facebook. Not like that.
On Facebook. Nicole on Facebook. Holy, there's like 30 of you.
No. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Did you get any right?
No. No, I was trying to figure out what was going on so I don't get kicked off and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. It was just a weird thing, and I'm just gonna leave off my camera just in case.
Okay.
And what did you get done? I'm sure you were very productive as usual. Show off.
Yeah, no, I just I organized another chapter into my my plot points and element list. So it's 34 chapters I have because I finished the books. I've been, for anyone who hasn't been following, I've been reorganizing plot points into my plot point sheet to make sure that plot points are getting enough airtime, as one might say, to be earned, or if I have to go back and seed stuff, or if I'm missing anything. And it's a lot of work, but it helps make it so there's no plot holes. In fact, you know, when if you end up working with me, Nicole, that's what I would do. I would read your book, and as I saw narrative plot points or what I felt were, I would copy and paste them into a sheet, and then I would go back and look and see if there was enough established before the midpoint conflict. If, you know, like, when did information start coming in? When did information stop? And it actually helps you map out if you need to go back and add a couple of things, or if you're missing anything. It's fun.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna definitely be underwriting Midnight Murders.
Well, how many? What do you got? It's at 300,000 more words?
No. Well, I'm at 23,000 words right now, and okay. So like, I'm and like I shouldn't hesitate. Like if it's the first draft or whatever, then just finish it, even if I'm like only 35,000. This is an interesting one. I am not completely struggling with Midnight Murders, but it's wrapping up faster than usual. Maybe I should just wrap it up fast and then like get into it.
Well, yeah, I mean, but if it's only 31,000 words, like I would definitely go back and be like, maybe I could do more immersion. You know, like, you know, like maybe I could expand on people's on certain because that's not a lot of words. Is it for a urban fantasy?
No, that's why I'm like, well, what the hell is going on? But I'm not gonna just sit here and also be like, oh, poo me. I'm wasting time crying. Instead of I could just wrap it up and then go back in and be like, all right, why did this go really fast compared to all my other books? And it doesn't see the light of day from anyone else. Like I fixed the problem or problems, whatever it's going on. And then it's like, oh, hello, I'm at 50,000 words. Like, but I'm at the point on chapter 16 where Althea and Evangeline are being stalked by a werewolf in a grocery store because they decided to go to the grocery store while Tessa and Bloodsworth were at one of the sketchy motels getting information on the 3 werewolves and the bobcat. And then I was like, oh, where's this guy? Where's this guy? This is going faster than I thought. But
going
Or maybe
fast.
it's not, and I'm just like, oh wait, it doesn't. I just whatever.
But also, you're processing it differently. So as you're reading it, you're not really spending time figuring out what you're reading. Like, in fact, that's one of the main reasons you get beta readers, is because they're going to read it differently than you are. But ultimately, you can have I'm not saying to write a 200, but an author could have a 250,000 word manuscript, and it could still be a fast read. There could still be, because pacing is just the amount of the speed at which information is presented to the reader, right? That's what pacing is. So, the pacing can be affected by the chapter lengths, the information within the chapters, the description, stuff like that. So that could slow down a read and make 60,000 words feel like 300,000 words. So, it's important to sort of like pick and choose, because me, I write the epic fantasies. So like when someone tells me it's a fast read, all they're saying to me is that the way it's written moves quicker, through the pacing and the descriptions and everything. And I don't linger. I'm not a lingerer. Can't stand lingering. We don't need to know how old this door is and that it was actually owned originally from some Saint Francis of England's Europe. And by the way, vampires, this is the anatomy of a vampire. Not that that'll narratively be important in the novel, but me as a writer, I need you to know that. And it's like, we could take that out. Sometimes you don't need that. You just. I mean, that could just be me. But what are your thoughts on it? Do you like? I call it fiddle faddle. Do you like fiddle faddle, where it's just like, the author put that there because they felt like if you know this backstory, that literally does not influence narrative any way. But I like it. Are you like, why is this here?
I don't know. I guess we'll just, I don't really think about that.
You're not like, you're like sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can tell when I'm reading something maybe, but like, I don't really sit down and think about like topics of literature very often. This is me from like last Thursday. I got tipsy and I wrote like 1,600 words. And today I'm like, shit, might need some hard lemonade again. I don't know what's going on.
Do you feel what you wrote?
I know I'll finish it.
Well, I'm sure.
Yeah, I didn't check back. No, I did. Oh no, I did. Oh no. So on Sunday, I actually wrote with Andy on Andy's channel. So I added like another 600 words. So that's where the 23,000 words are. It was at like 21 or something like that. I don't even remember. Don't know. Doesn't matter. I'm at 23K. I should this is my problema here. I only write from beginning, middle, and end, and I don't go back and look at stuff, or else I will not finish the manuscript at all. I learned that from the first 2 books. It took a really long time.
That's a fair
assessment. And yeah, I just need to I just need to just write this whole thing out, I think, and not care.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, okay, well, I'll fix it, because I have fixed all my other books and it does not, and I publish them. I don't have books that are like, ooh, this is so bad, I can't do anything with it except be sad. I'm not like that, at least. So, or
you go back
it just means, yeah, but when I'm drafting, no.
Yeah, like you'll finish the draft and then you go back and you'll start adding or cleaning up things. Yeah, that's pretty smart.
Yeah, or else I'll just obsess over getting everything perfect. I'm like, it's not supposed to be perfect right now. I just need to finish what I have because I'm actually not like a huge fan of drafting, which is hilarious to people. I'm more interested in editing.
The editing. Well, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, because you know, the writing part, who needs that?
Yeah. Well,
that's the part that gets in the
I'm
way.
just trying to get through. I'm just trying to get through the writing part and get to that editing actually.
Why don't you just hire ghostwriters then, and then you just edit it?
Because it's not me.
It means like you map it out, like you outline the idea, and then you hand it to someone. You write it.
I can't outline shit, so.
Well, you just say this happens, and oh, I see what you're saying. Like when you write, you're like discovering how the story unfolds. Like you don't know where it's necessarily going in detail. You just sort of like, I need them to figure this case out.
Yeah, and I know the mystery of the case.
Yeah.
Hence why I can get all the beats down for mystery, but it's just ingrained in me. But the how that goes about, not really.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like I didn't know that Evangeline and Althea would go to the grocery store / coffee shop in the grocery store to then get stalked by the werewolf.
Yeah.
That was the one that killed the shapeshifters, bodyguards in the other world and all that stuff. But here we are. We're
now,
here.
That werewolf though is in were form, right? It's like a human.
No, he's a human. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because my werewolves only shift during the full moon.
Oh, see. I only shift to the left, and then I shift to the right, and then I do the time warp.
I can picture you doing that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Everyone jump to the left. You know, one time I was addicted to the hokey pokey, but luckily I turned myself around. And
it's a dad joke that I've heard dozens of times. I'm not going to give that to you, Thomas.
That joke is great, though. I love that. No. Is it because I gave you the song and dance? Anyway, what I like to do though, and I think we've talked about this, is I do because I start with a zero draft, so I'm not really like you're writing like a draft, like you're writing like dialogue, prose, like you're going all in for the first draft. I do more of like a loose outline for the zero draft where I might write dialogue and I might write a pro, like if I want to get the elements or the feel of the scene, but mostly it's like this is what needs to happen, like it's all plot. And then I'll do the second chapter, and when I'm done with the second chapter I'll go back to the first and add elements that are needed, and then move back and then go to the second chapter, add to that, and then I'll go to the third, write that out. But I'm not writing 3,000 words for each chapter. I'm writing maybe 200 words because it's all bullet points, So I'm just like, oh, that's an interesting way to go. So let me go back and make sure that it leads to that. Like I earn it. And it's not just like it just comes out of nowhere. And then once all that's done, then I start the draft. And then I just write through it. But what happens though is by the time I get to the last chapter, and I have to go all the way back to the first chapter, now that zero draft starts looking more like a draft because I've added so much information by that point to, into the chapters that it starts. I'm like, oh, well, how would this conversation go? So let me play with that a little bit so I can get the character voices, and in turn that creates movement to the narrative too, because if you could start seeing your characters, you start realizing you can move with them. You could, it might influence the way you approach a narrative. But you saw you saw my zero draft video. You commented on that. Like that's pretty much what it looks like. It starts like that and then it evolves from there.
Yeah, that would probably kill me inside. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, this is art. I'm telling a story. It's not supposed to be like easy and it takes like a short amount of time. There are some like push and pull. So I think and like every book is different. So this one seems to be wrapping up faster. And I'm like, okay, girl, I don't know what's going on in my head half the time. So whatever is going on in my head, it's like, oh, I'm going to go really fast. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Where like there were other books that it was pulling teeth for years and I couldn't even get a first draft. So maybe I should just go with it. And like everything can be fixed in the editing moment.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
if I just go like, oh, I don't think this should be happening, and then waste time whining over it shouldn't be happening like this, well, then I can't fix whatever is going on. If anything is actually going on. I don't know. This is the first time where it's not taking like ages to finish the book. But when did I start Midnight Murders? I don't even remember.
Thursday?
Yeah, I don't remember. I mean, it was like maybe 5 months ago.
Okay.
4? 5.
4 months?
Let's go with 5.
All right. Okay.
I did, like, when I have a book launch, then I stop all writing and focus on the book launch. So technically writing, it's only 4 months, but it's been ongoing for 5.
Okay, well, that makes sense. You got to keep it going. I mean, I'm always outlining the books, the preceding books. So like I'm writing this one, but I am outlining book 2, 3, 4, 5, and so I have all 15 books loosely outlined. But as I write, I constantly go back to the other, and I kind of like add and move things, and like so by the time I get to them, they're already in process. But my channel's almost at 3,000 watch hours, so I'm about to get the membership thing, where you can.
Ooh.
So I'm probably gonna make a channel that's, I'm probably gonna make it where like I charge X amount of dollars a month, and it's like a 16-week course that I do, and if you just pay for the membership, you just can follow the course. But then I'm also gonna do one where you can see me write, but it's not all the time. It's just like once a week I'll do like a live in real time writing session, so people could watch me writing the books or outlining the books, or and they could kind of like get a behind the scenes shot at the books, so they could see my brain. And because apparently that's what people are really enjoying on my channel is the process. They like hearing and seeing me work through a process, because then it's sort of like I'm also teaching them. I'm going, because you've watched my videos. My teacher brain takes over, and I'm like, the reason I'm doing this. I'm like,
yeah. Oh yeah, people like that, and that's why I don't really do a lot of AuthorTube or like AuthorTube videos, because I'm like, I just write. I can't really do like in-depth anything, but people really love the in-depth stuff.
Yeah, and I don't think YouTube does a lot of that, because most of the time when I watch, and this is no knock on anyone because it takes a lot of time, but like you watch the videos and they're like, here's 10 things you should do for immersion. And they're just like, use sight. Sight is very important because you want the character to feel like they're seeing stuff. Number 2, allow people to taste the environment. They're not showing you, or they'll show an example of like a thing. They'll be like, he bit into the fruit as it's suckled down his mouth, releasing the sweetness of blah, blah. And you're like, that's a prime example. But they're not showing you how to get there, or like how to work to that. And I like to show that. I like to show process, just because I think it's a niche that's not on the YouTube. I don't think there's like a class style channel that teaches writing. And bear in mind, a lot of my knowledge is not just self-taught, like industry, like it's like this is so actors, right? Like when I used to deal with actors, and I say deal accurately, when I used to deal with actors, they'd come to me and I go, well, what have you been doing for the last 6 years? And they'll be like, well, I got new headshots. I got a reel together. I've been, submitting for auditions. And then you ask them questions. You go, okay, why headshots? And they're like, well, because that's how you audition. I go, okay, why auditions? Well, because, I want to get in. I go, all right, why the reels? And I go, because I want people to see my work. And then I go back. I go, so you don't know anyone in the industry? And they're like, what do you mean? I go, well, because you have to hand them a headshot so they could see your face. And the way they do that is they actually open up the entire screen and they look at the headshots as a group. And then they instantly delete the black and whites. And then they look for colors. They look for blonde. Oh, we need blondes. So they'll just look for all the blonde hairs and click that. And they'll delete everybody, right? I go, they're not looking at your headshot. They're just doing cattle. Like when Leonardo DiCaprio was auditioning, he wasn't auditioning on a cattle scale. He was 3 or 4 actors that were primarily given to the casting director. And even that is rare at his level. It would go to the producer or the writer or the director. And they go, what do you mean? I go, well, casting directors don't cast films. And they go, yeah, they do. And I go, well, how do they cast films? Because who okays it? The director or the producer.
Mm-hmm.
The producer has to write off on the salary and potential value of the return on that cast. And the director has to be like, that's the one I want. And sometimes a director and or director writer, if it's the same person, they already know who they're casting because they wrote the script for a name, like a Samuel L. Jackson. So they're automatically not interested in you. So the auditions you're doing are under 5s, which you're just coming on and going, is that all you want with that coffee? Right? And but like I have to explain to actors, if you really want a career in entertainment, you can't think of they'll discover me or if I could get an audition and scene to the right person, I'll blow their minds away because I'm so good. And you can't think like that. You have to go, it's relationship based. And you have to go meet, here's a good example. When Robert De Niro was starting out, he was not Robert De Niro. He was just some guy named Robert De Niro who wanted to be an actor. But when he was growing up, he could look to his left and see Al Pacino, Christopher Walken, Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, like all these kids who were starting out. So I would tell actors all the time, I go, when you're doing an acting class or if you're volunteering to work with SAG, you should look to your left and right because you're trying to work with the Robert De Niro, but you should be trying to work with the next Robert De Niro. You should be building the relationships with your peers. So as everyone grows, they help each other. And then people are like, that isn't how it works. And I go, Adam Sandler, Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino. And you watch their films. Who do they work with? The same people.
Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, always working with the same people, right? It's just, they think it's a me game, like I'm an actor. It's about me hitting my mark. It's about me saying the lines. It's about me being on the screen. And then you're like, these people have show shock because they get on a set, right? Because like when you watch TV, there's maybe 2 actors talking to each other and then some extras in the back, background talent. But if you're on set, there's the director, the first AD, 3, maybe 4 PAs. There's a camera operator. There's a DP. There's a lens assistant. There's a script supervisor. Mm-hmm. And you don't see these people, but they're there. They're very much there.
Yeah.
And you realize very quickly, it is not about you. Like you're the person on screen is one of the least important people because without a writer, what are you filming?
Yeah.
Right? Without a director, where's the direction of the project going? Because a director doesn't just go action. They go, what do I want the look to be? Show me all the options for clothing. I know you're the clothing department, but I want to see your choices. You know what? I like the way you're going. Keep going that way. All right, let me see set design. Oh, what would be nicer if we were really playing with more blues. like a director is involved, right? So without a director, there's no look, there's no style, there's no voice. We're not even to the actors yet, who usually get cast last. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, that was a ramble, but I'm just saying, people don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know what that was from, though. I don't know why I jumped off on that.
I don't recall either, but it's fine. Well, you know, we're just winging it today. I mean, we usually do, but this is extra. I will be as usual reaching out after this draft is done. Well, but also after I edit and stuff, and we will be doing some developmental edits together.
Yeah, I would recommend not worrying about line editing or copy editing. Like, just do standard editing, because obviously you'll have to change or not.
Yeah.
But
well, the only book that was like you had to change half of it was The Two Foxes, and I think that it's a solid book, as it is. So I'm always worried, but then every time it's like the plot makes sense and the characters are great, and here's line edit. But
line edit.
That's from the same editor, and then I'm gonna mix things up with you because she is a year out. I'm like, I'm not waiting for a year. Sorry. Yeah. So I gotta kind of sort of have to move in a different direction.
And just remember, anything I say is just an opinion. So you have the final say. But what'll be nice is you'll get to see those charts I make, and you'll have a visual and be like, oh, interesting. Like, you'll be like, I didn't realize this character wasn't introduced until chapter 10. I should introduce them at least one, earlier in one chapter. Like, those are the kind of things you start thinking about with the visuals, as you start realizing I may have waited too long for someone to be introduced, or I haven't seeded this concept enough. Which in turn makes you realize when there's like information dumps, when you may not realize you're doing an information dump because it seems like exposition. It's needed exposition, but then you realize, oh wait, I brought up this narrative point in chapter 20, which is, we're right at the midpoint. Maybe I should go back. And maybe I should take some of these things and just spread them out backwards. And all that does is help with pacing and absorption. The reader wants to feel like they're discovering and not being told. And not saying that's what's happening with your books, because I haven't read this one particular, but those are things I notice even when I'm reading like professional books. I'm like, my brain is just organizing stuff.
Well, it could also be one, I'm still like really tired from my family members visiting, and then also like this read month has not been good with books. I feel a little bit down. I'm just like, oh gosh, what happened this month? Like, a little bit of a disaster. Well, did I DNF? There are two. One book was 1 star. Another book was 2 stars. And then The Angel of Indian Lake, which is Stephen Graham Jones, which I was like, I put that in because I thought that it was going to be great, but I'm like, what happened? I'm just bummed. It's bumming me out. The book that I'm currently reading right now, Death of an Eye, is good. Like, it's not a 5-star read, and like probably 4 stars. I would continue the series, but it's like there is lacking of emotion in that one.
I mean, that's fair.
So yeah, so I'm like, well, here we go.
As a reader, though, if you're reading a book and like your soul is telling you this is a 5-star book, like you're just like, what I have read so far is just 5-star. What is one thing that could happen in that book after realizing you're reading a 5-star that would make you go, I have to put this book down? This is a bad book. It's now a 2 or a 1. Like, what is one thing that makes you go from 5 stars and then like you get the chapter 7 and you're just like, nope?
If I find a plot issue.
Okay. Like for a house?
Like a huge blaring plot hole and like, what happened? But now this does not make any sense, which has happened in the past. Do I remember those books off the top of my head? Not right now, but if I thought about it, yeah. There are some books where I read the first chapter and I'm like, what is this? Which would be Nevernight by Jay Kristoff and Tender is the Flesh. I'm sorry, I forget the author's name.
Yeah.
But oh, they were so bad. But I finished both those books in full to then say those books were not well done.
Yeah.
Because then I can argue why, because those books are like beloved by so many people, and I'm like, no, and here's 50 examples.
Was it mostly a lack of clear plot, or was it just a lack of emotion and the characters weren't really connecting with you?
All of those. And then for Tender is the Flesh, the plot, the whole idea of Tender is the Flesh, which is there is a virus, bacteria, whatever, in all animals that then the people left on Earth after like a weird like apocalypse kind of sort of, they are then now harvesting, or they're farming and harvesting and eating people.
Yeah.
Where's the plot holes in that idea? I can think of 5. I read the first chapter and I go to my husband and I'm like, okay, I am not a scientist here, a biologist or anything like that, but does this make sense? And he's like, that's not how science works. I'm like, thank you. I'm going to finish this 250-page book so I can bitch about it. And I did.
That's not how science works. That's not how any of this works.
That's how it works, people.
that is aggravating. Like when you're reading something, you're just like, the physics still exists. Doesn't matter what you make up in the world. Like,
yeah, no, that's my whole thing when I'm reading books as well. Is it believable and is it realistic?
Yeah.
Because we're in a universe here. There are rules.
Even magic has rules.
Come on.
But like, yes. Magic works within, but magic could be like, I cancel out gravity. And you're like, all right, well, if you could explain that, that's the physics of your world. So now we're talking about suspension of disbelief because, obviously it's magic, but there still has to be a consistent basis of reality, whatever that is that you create in a world. Like, no one could just shoot a fireball out of their face, but if it's the magic in your world, fine, but you have to make sense of it. It can't just, so it's the same thing with universal rules. If you're basing anything on the real world, you can't discredit physics just for convenience or cool points. You can't just
or like how, well, then she tries to fix that whole like concept of all animals on Earth can't be eaten, so we eat people. But then, and so they wiped out, supposedly they wipe out all animals on Earth, which does not make any sense. Everyone would die. So 100 years. Yeah. Okay. So there's your plot hole number 55, because we're at 55 now. But then later, a little bit into the book, there are dogs and cats running around. So then did you forget, or did you lie? Or
well, I'll give her a pass on that. The dogs are allowed to live, like.
But when you say all animals were wiped out, okay,
well, humans are animals too, so you can get really crazy with that. You can just be like, but as long as there's plant life,
a problem.
if there's, as long as there's plant life, there's still chance for life, but animals do affect the ecosystem, and like, they control basically the river flows at some points. Look at wolves and deers, so
yeah, like everything is good. So then and then I was like, okay, but you say every animal, but then there are also dogs and cats running around, and then there's frogs. Oh, okay, and then there's insects buzzing around. Okay, so don't say every freaking animal. And then also the whole point of, okay, you could have are we missing the whole point of plant protein or tofu? Like, that was not explained.
Yeah, because tofu has no value.
Yeah, right? Like, well, you can there's protein in tofu, but then it could also be like what makes tofu, and if there are supposedly no animals around or whatever, like, it just tenders the flesh is not it. Okay, it's not it. It's like one of the worst books I've read. I can't, it doesn't make sense. And this is like when I did the firearms, like how to write firearms and weapons effectively for writers. Whenever I read like information, quote unquote information, or like descriptions or something of firearms or swords or whatever that is not correct, then you're taking me out of the story. And how much research did you do? Because sorry, unless it is illegally bought, no one has a automatic weapon, for example.
At least not automatically.
No, well, so you get automatic weapons illegally, or you have a very, very specific special license, or you're part of the military, but you don't own those automatic weapons. You have them in times of war. So there's 3 different options. Like when someone says, oh, it's an automatic weapon, but it's actually like an AK-47. Sorry, it's semi-automatic. Do you know the difference? If you don't, you should have Googled, and now you're this like action adventure book is now down to 4 stars from 5. How far are we gonna go because you didn't want to do your research?
I once got into this argument with a guy about silencers, and I was like, in films, I just don't agree with silencers being quiet. Like, you can hear a gun shot through silencer still. There's the bullet hitting metal after it's shot. You would hear that, and you would also hear the if you're close enough, And he's like, no, it's silence. It's completely silence. So then he sends me a video of somebody using like a suppressor and like a high level silencer, and the guy's like really far away from the camera, and he goes, right? And I go, but I heard the thump.
Yeah.
He goes, no, it's silent. And I go, it's fast. But it's still, and then it hit the target. And then I heard the bullet that is made of metal or whatever material it is. It was loud enough when it went ding against the metal, which means if it hit a wall and it's, cement popped out, you hear, like, it makes sounds. So there's either a sound on the poof or there's a sound on the reaction of the bullet. And he's like, no, silence is, I go, in movies, they make them too silent. They make it almost as if they just shot nothing. Like, it's just, and it doesn't sound like that. There's still, especially if you're that's my other thing, when they're in a car and they're like, but the windows are closed. Like, you can go deaf from that almost with a regular gun. A silencer is going to now echo. It still has a release of sound.
Yeah.
And it builds on itself because it's especially if there's snow. Like if there's snow on the car, that's even worse, right? Because the windows are closed, and then there's right. And the guy was like pushing and pushing, and I was like, I'm still hearing the gun. And he's like, but it's much quieter. And I go, I'm not saying it isn't much quieter. I'm just saying it's not silent, like in a movie where it goes. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
sound like that.
Oh, the inconsistencies. Just, I don't know, talk to an expert or Google. There are some things that you could just like Google and you don't even have to talk to an expert, but that's difficult,
Well, my
apparently.
father's a veteran, from the Vietnam. He
Yeah.
he was in Vietnam, and every time like a grenade blew up and it looked like C4, he's like, "You can hold a grenade in your hand and hold your arm completely out, and you're gonna lose your arm and get black on you, but your entire body is not gonna explode and then leave a 6-foot hole." He goes, "And if
Yeah.
it's not a scatter grenade, it'll probably just blow up the front of your arm and cover you in dust of black. Like you'll have blast effect, but it's not going to leave a 3 or 5 foot hole and
Hmm.
obliterate your body." He's like, "You can survive a grenade blowing up 5 or 6 feet from you if you jump. Like especially if you jump down. That's what they tell you. They tell you to jump to the ground because it shoots up, right? Especially if it's a scatter grenade." And the other thing he hated was C4 when they took like a freaking brick and they put it like on a door, and the thing just goes.
Oh.
And he's like that would have taken out the whole floor. you know, it's just
Well,
funny
whenever I hear C4, I just think of Rush Hour, so that's perfect.
stuff.
And
Yeah.
Chris Tucker, yeah, yeah. Uh, well, we should do another sprint,
All right,
also
let's do
because
it.
I need a bathroom break.
Is it a one or a two?
It's a one.
All right, because
I had two venti Starbucks refreshers in an hour. I gotta go,
I just was
and
making
then
sure if we had
try
to do
it
more
right.
than 20.
No, it usually just goes right through, you know. Of course, we get people viewing right when we're talking about the bathroom break. Thank you, people.
Yeah, but we're about to
But
sprint though, which means they could watch us and
I
follow
know.
along. And right.
Yes, there we go. Woohoo!
Woo! All right, let's start it. You ready? Boom, 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 boom. Oh, tinkle, tinkle.
Tinkle Tinkle's back.
Tinkle, tinkle.
I did Tinkle Tinkle.
Did you? How was it? Do you feel better?
Yes, I might have to do it again for the next sprint, but we're here.
Did it come out and you were just like, nice?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I got to 1,269 words for chapter 16.
Damn, girl.
It was at like 650 or whatever. I don't even know.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. One might say you're killing it.
Is that killing him? I should be more what's the word? Well, I should maybe be nicer to myself because I do write a lot when I can, but I don't know. I just don't. My brain doesn't work with like, oh, I have the document open all the time, and so I write 5 words or 10 words or whatever, and then it adds up to 500 a day. Like, some people can do that. I tried that, but like, I just forget.
That's a hey, whatever works for you, right? You gotta do what you gotta do, I say if you just 15 minutes, you just sit in front of the computer and either you write or you think or you do whatever you gotta do. But over time you'll just start becoming that habit. Like if every day at 8 o'clock you're like, I'm gonna sit at the computer for 15 minutes, and then one day it'll be 30 minutes. And it'll be like, I feel good sitting here for 30 minutes. And then it's 45. And eventually you'll get to a point where every time you sit, you'll just start writing because your brain will be in the habit of, oh, it's 8 o'clock. I got to write. Obviously you pick the times and your personal sprints. But when I became a professional writer, I had to start learning how to write because, and I say that as in like to write. Like I couldn't be like, thanks for the gig. Now you have to wait until I'm inspired.
Oh yeah,
because the money's it's too much money to be like, I'll get back to you in a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, no, there are like a lot of writers that whenever I say that discipline is more important than inspiration, they're like, well, I can only write when I'm inspired, and I'm like, yeah, and how many books do you have? And like, it's not more than 2. And I'm like, okay, so what are your goals? And they're like, well, I really want to make writing a full-time career. I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have to write when you're not inspired. And they hate that shit. And I'm like, sorry, that's reality. Like, I don't know what to say. I mean, you have 1 book out and it took you 10 years to write. So it's not going to happen. Sorry. Yeah. Not sorry.
You can't tell a job, look, I'm not going to clock in because I'm just not inspired to come into work, but please send me the paycheck.
Yeah, please.
Like if you could just send me the check, that's great. But I have to be inspired to come in and pack out shelves, So.
Yeah, well, Then it's like, okay, well, you reevaluate your goals for writing, or I don't know, you just stay thinking that you can do that and then become a millionaire. I don't know. I guess it feels great. I wouldn't think that felt great because then I'd be like, oh, I'm only writing like once a month. I don't know why I'm not getting anywhere. I kind of have an idea, but yeah.
Listen, if you write books, you'll just become successful. I mean, that's the formula, right? Because successful authors, they write books and they become successful. So that's all you have to do is you just have to write the book, right? And after you finish the book, you're successful because you wrote the book. Like that's how it works. I've seen it.
Yeah, you don't have to do anything else except write the book. I don't know what.
Nora Roberts wrote a book and she became successful.
Yeah.
She didn't do anything else. Oh, she got a manager and an agent and a publisher. They did all the work for her. So all she had to do, she finally had the life where all she had to do was write books, and they handled the stuff that I don't want to handle, the boring stuff. I just want to write. And then when you realize that's not true, and then you realize they pay you in thirds, and then you realize,
Mm-hmm.
like you start like,
Yeah.
I got a 6-figure deal over the course of 9 months, and then plus taxes, and then the 10% of the agent, and then it was in thirds.
Yeah.
Oh.
Time to write.
What do you mean I don't get money though? I have to pay back the advance first, and the marketing goes. You add the marketing? I thought I just get the advance. Wait, you don't
Yeah.
market either, so I got to use the advance to pay for marketing? Well, I'll just do some ads on Amazon.
Yeah, and there's strategies to Amazon ads. It's just not like, ooh, I'm gonna make so much money on Amazon or Facebook or BookBuzz ads. Like, no, you gotta learn that shit. And it is a long haul for all those ads. It's not just like, oh my God, I found my audience. Yeah.
I say it often. Hire a PR firm, and it will change your life as a writer. That's a fact. There is no lie there. And the reason it changes your life is you start realizing it's about being seen, you as a person, and it's not about your book. And then that blows your mind. But it also takes the pressure off going, I know my book has to be good, but I don't have to write 18 books in a year. I just have to be present in people's faces. And then they just buy my stuff because they hear me talking, and I'm developing relationships because they hear my thoughts on things. And I agree or disagree as an audience member to what they're saying. And I could get behind what they're saying or not. And either way, you're growing your audience. You cannot grow an audience through ads. It's impossible. And you can't grow an audience through books, because what happens? Well, if you sell 100 books, right? What's 10% of 100? 10 people. That means if the ad itself gets 100 people to buy the book, only 10 of them are going to walk away going, this was a really good book. Out of those 10 people, only 10% are going to go, I can't wait till her next book comes out, or his next book comes out. So that means for every 100 people, you're getting one person that's like, I'm going to follow, right? And how much money did you have to spend to get 100 books sold, right? And then you have to do the math, and you go, oh, I got to spend this much money to get one person out of 100. And we're not even talking about the reality of it, right? But you can't rely on book sales to build an audience. That's like a band going, if I do shows, I build my audience. But if you have no audience, no one shows up to the show. So if you just spend money on ads, and then people go, oh, I like the ad. The ad was really pretty. And then they show up and they go, oh, I didn't know this was screaming metal. And then they're like, I'm not going to come to the next show. And the advertisement doesn't work. But if you get on the radio and you do an interview, if you do a podcast and get interviewed, if you try to get and all this happens because a PR person gets you on these interviews, and that's the point. But they also do press runs and press releases. And, they also set up speaking engagements or meet and greets or signings. Like Brandon Sanderson didn't get on Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, just because he was Brandon Sanderson. Like, people were involved in that process because he's doing other things. He's running his empire, his business. Even Stephen King has a PR firm that goes, we're going to get you a speaking gig. Like, he's not like, can I speak at your college? Like, he's not making those phone calls because he doesn't have the relationships,
Mm-hmm.
Even though he's Stephen King, it doesn't matter because there's a process. But, there also is nothing wrong with just doing ads. Like, if you're comfortable with spending money on ads, and you're comfortable just writing books, and you have a day job, or, and you're just like, this is my life, and you're okay with that, keep doing what you're doing. But the moment the brain says, I want to be a professional, successful, full-time writer, you can't think like a writer anymore. You got to think like a business. You only think like a writer when you're doing the art. If you're working on a book, you do not think like a business. You don't go, does this sell? Because then you're not saying anything, and then people can't connect to you. But once you're done with the book, you got to go, I'm a business. And, that's a hard switch to make. But again, if you're happy writing and you have a job and you're just spending a little bit of money here and there, you know what I'm saying? So it's it's another ramble, but I feel like I'm consulting. So anyway, Nicole, when you, but you know, I'm passionate about this stuff because I feel bad for people who want it, but they don't, you know, like they don't know more than they know. Like they only know what they know, and because they believe they know it, that's the way to do it. You know, like when I was in the music industry, I thought the same way. I was like, if I do shows, I'll be successful. And then people that were doing more than me were like, you got to do this, this, and this. And I was like, no, you got to do shows. Like I knew better than them. You know, so it took me years to stop listening to myself and start listening to the experts, or start like, you know, because if you see like Black Sabbath do a show, and you're like, well, if I do shows, I'll be like Black Sabbath. If I release an album like Metallica, I'll be Metallica. And it's like, no, that's the end result. They have a supply and demand, you know. And if you're an author and you're like, I wrote a book, and you have no demand, you can't sell books. And it's like, yes, I can. I'll do ads. Yes, you can sell books with ads, but stop doing the ads, and you'll notice no one keeps buying your books, or the number dwindles down to a very small number. And then what's the other thing? I think you and I talked about this like loosely, where it's like there's basically a hill. Like when a book gets launched and you put some money into ads, you get sales like this. They go up. And then like slowly but surely they dwindle down. And then what is the solution on YouTube? They tell you write another book. And as it's falling down, you write a book and then you'll get more, you know, like, and you're like, yeah, but that's not sustainable. That's you know, that's crazy.
Oh, well, a lot of indies are sustaining that with 6 and 7 figures, so there is some stuff to that. But well, you're writing a lot, and I don't write that damn much. So
yeah, but if they're making 6 or 7 figures, I guarantee you it's not from just writing the book. They're doing.
Oh no, they're doing they're doing a shitload of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. And again, I'm not saying advertisement doesn't make money. Like if I had 20 grand and I put 20 grand into ads, and not just Amazon, but like, you know, I created a marketing blitz, I'm going to make money on it. I'm going to make sales. But you don't create longevity from that, because if they're just connecting to your book and then you release another book and the book is not the exact same book that you had originally marketed or advertised, I should say, they're going to be like, this isn't the book I thought I was getting because it's different. You know, why is Tess not in the same town she was in the first book that I liked? Right? Like it's little things like that that really, like, that's when you start realizing, you know, it's like with a CD. Oh man, their songs are slightly shorter than originally. I liked when they were longer, you know, even though it's really the same music, you know. But then you look at Nickelback, and what were all their hits? The same song, just with different lyrics and a different arrangement slightly. Because they were like, we want to keep selling and making money, so we're just going to do stupid songs. And, you know.
Yeah, I can't with Nickelback. But, you know, they're popular. But then, like, they became a joke. They're still popular.
But they became a joke because they had nothing to say. They became the parody of the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Which authors can also become the parody of the machine if they're just, again, writing to sell, if that makes sense. Not writing to market per se, because I know everybody has a different variation of that, but writing to sell. Like if they're just like, what will sell this book and how will I sell this book? And I'm going to, you know, I really want to try this thing, but I know that I need, I don't know, a redhead in it, or a tall, I need 3 women. You know, like they just start, like, they start writing. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to totally use write to sell, because I think it's better than write to market, because there's like 50 different iterations of what write to market is. And I say writing to market is, like, for example, for mystery, hitting the 5 beats that are part of the genre so you don't have mystery. But then people are like, well, that's not part of it. And I'm like, but that is, but like, okay, whatever. No, but then when I actually like went deeper into what is actually writing to market, it's like what I've said before in the past, like you're doing all this research and then you're kind of just like copy and pasting into your your own stuff. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, you're making 6 and 7 figures, but like, I'm bored. Because I just read 10 other books the same, almost the same. So it's like, okay, it's a little forgettable. That's what I think more and more people are thinking of right to market versus what I'm saying is like upholding what is expected for the genre, for just it to be a mystery or a historical fiction or poetry, whatever. But we've drilled way down into right to sell, and I like that. So I'm going to take that, and I will also shout you out.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. Did you turn off your camera for a reason, sir?
Oh yeah, because
there we
I
go.
was doing something I didn't want people seeing.
Oh, okay.
That's why you shut off the camera.
Hey there, guys. Hi there. Hi, Dad. I know pizza does sound good. I wish.
Wait, can I do it in the villain voice?
Okay, do that.
Pizza sounds good.
Excellent. Well, actually, tomorrow, my husband and I are going to order sushi, and then on Saturday, my friend and I are going to see Abigail. I did, in fact, do the movie tickets for that, and then we're going to eat really bad, but somehow really good movie theater food. So
hot
I'm already
dogs?
booked. No, I'm thinking, what did they have? Like they have chicken nuggies there.
Ooh, the nuggy duggies.
Chicken nuggies. Nummy nummy. I don't know why, but I'm craving some slushy and chicken nuggies on Saturday.
Can't go wrong with slushy and chicken nuggies. You know, your belly is like, you know what'll be nice about this?
Exactly. Well, let's go one more 20-minute, and we're gonna be over a bit because whatever, time. Cool. But we like to get at least 3 in, so we are kind of productive.
This might be the wrong channel for some of us, but
yeah.
We like to get 3 in. All right, let's do it. Ready? Oh yeah.
Tinkle, tinkle.
Tinkle, tinkle.
Yay, tinkles.
Did you tinkle?
I did not. I was writing. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
god.
What'd you get? What'd you get?
Well, I finished chapter 16 and I have 35 words in chapter 17. Chapter 16 ended in 1,558 words and I'm at 24,000 words total. Not like words matter. Word count matters for me, but you know, sometimes it does. Whatever, it's fine.
All right. Do you have anything you want to read?
Not really. I don't know anymore. It's fine.
Sounds good. I like it.
Yeah, I went back and I realized that I did name the bobcat. It's Adam, and I fucked that up. So
wait, did you change his name?
No, I just like forgot that I named him and that he's from Denver. It's fine.
Of all places, Denver, which you know.
But no, so now I have werewolf number 1 as having red spiky hair and a mohawk, and
is that a choice for a reason?
He just stands out.
So like werewolves don't have like a special hair style. They're not like, oh, I'm a werewolf.
They just are. They're just there, you know.
Okay.
I mean, the other two, currently, the elf, Azrael, and some other elves are going to the motel because the 2 other werewolves are asleep. Yeah. So we are grabbing those werewolves. I don't know if I'm going to kill one of them off or both of them are going to survive.
How do you kill werewolves in your world?
Just like anyone else.
So a slow movie.
Yeah. Well, in werewolf form, which they are not in werewolf form anymore, it would only be silver, but that only happens when the full moon happens. So like one night out of whatever. So at this point, they are still easily killed. But if they're in werewolf form, it has to be silver.
So if they're in human form, you can kill them.
Stabby, stabby, stabby. Yeah.
All right. Stabby, stabby, stabby. I got it. Do you have a lore and like mythology to your werewolves? Like they have clans or packs, you know?
Yeah, they are packs with alpha and then a second in command and third in command.
Okay.
And they only turn into a werewolf during the full moon, so just once. I know there are some pagans that say that they can turn the day before, the day of, and the day after a full moon, but that is not the science. Sorry. So I went with one day.
The science of the mythology, not necessarily.
No, science of what a full moon is.
Well, I mean, it's always a full moon. It's just we only see parts of it.
Yeah. Yes. That when it's fully out.
Oh, when the sun is blasting off of it.
Yeah, well, there's like I looked it up with my husband because he was like, yeah, it's not even like the full night. It's like a specific time period of like a legitimate full moon. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna get that deep into it. I'm just gonna do the one night, not like an hour, because that would suck, wouldn't it? So it's like one night of the full moon, right when it happens. I know, like in Buffy, the Vampire Slayer, it's like Oz. Is it 3 days or is it like 4 days? Whatever. At least.
You're talking about Seth Green.
Yeah, at least for that, it's not like, oh, they can turn whenever, which is a fucking shapeshifter. It's not a werewolf, okay? At least with Joss, he was like, okay, well, we'll do the day before, during, and after. We'll lock Oz up in, a room, and that's fine, but it's only like 3 days. Whereas there are some people that are like, they can change it anytime it just hurts. I'm like, that's a freaking shapeshifter. Okay.
Yeah, but what if they're
Whatever.
really old and strong? Like in Underworld.
That's their own thing.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
I don't see any like actual lore from back in the day where it's like, oh, they can change at any time. Doesn't matter the full moon or not. That's a shapeshifter. The whole point of a werewolf is it involuntarily turns under full moon for that night, and then it's uncontrollable, whatever, and then they turn back into a human.
So you're basing it solely on Celtic lore. Like you're not putting any.
I don't think it's Celtic.
Well,
is it Celtic? I don't think werewolves came. I think they're
Norse,
Germanic.
Oh, the
or just
what are they called?
Or just like European broad lore from when were werewolves like? There was like that hype of werewolves and vampires.
Oh yeah.
In the 1800s, I'm kind of basing it on that, where people legit thought, and then they were basing it also on like their like specific European lore.
So you're not.
Which I kind of threw out a lot of the vampire lore because it's just kind of stupid. But the werewolf one is fine, so I follow that.
You're like, I like this one. So you're not really keen on adding any additional information based on like just imagination in general, where you're like, I like this as a foundation, but let me add my own little touch to it. Like you don't really have fun.
Because they act normally, which is like a crazy concept. Because if you read paranormal or urban fantasy, or shifter romance, the werewolves are fucking annoying. I can't stand those damn werewolves. It's like, and another like a slightly below or on the same level or slightly above alpha werewolf comes into a room and they're about to turn because they can't seem to handle another whatever alpha in the same area. So they're like, every single time one of that happens, there has to be a damn scene about it. That's not how wolves work. Okay. So I'm basing it also on what actual wolves in the wild, how they pack up, and it's not like what you see in these stupid paranormal romances. I'm sorry, I'm calling out even Patricia Briggs, and I enjoy her books, but those werewolves are effing annoying. And Mercy Thompson's husband, Adam, is extremely annoying. I can barely stand him. I only stand him because of Mercy.
Well, fun fact, did you know there is no alpha in a wolf pack? There were new studies.
That there's arguments about that because they were studying him in captivity, and it changes them. If you look in the wild, you have what you call an alpha is basically just the father, and then there's also an alpha female, which is the mother, and then they breed, and their babies are their pack, and then they as they grow older they make their own packs. So that's basing that off of. So like you see in Midnight Murders, Jefferson is the main pack, or is the alpha, but he's not an asshole. And then there's Benjamin, which is his second in line. They're not like romantically involved or anything like that.
Why not? Shouldn't they be together?
Nah. I was toying.
Tessa's supposed to fall in love with.
Well, I was toying with Tessa and Jefferson getting together by like the last book, and I'm like, I don't give a shit.
No, Bloodsworth. She's gonna end up with Bloodsworth.
Please no. I get that a lot. But uh, Jefferson is number one, and then Benjamin's number two, and then they have a couple people that are also werewolves, but none of them are family members. But
Okay.
they're like, I outright say that they're the ones where they were violently turned, like the two twins from like Sweden.
Yeah.
They were tourists,
Okay.
and they were violently turned in the United States, and so they didn't want to go back to Sweden. So then they stayed and found Jefferson and Benjamin, and they are part of their group. And then Max, who was in books 1 and 2, he goes to another pack up in like Montana, because it just works better for him. So like there's pack movement, and it's not like, oh, you can't leave and join another pack or make your own pack. No, it's perfectly acceptable to do that. But like a lot of paranormal and urban fantasy werewolves pack is you're in it until you die in some way or another, and that's not accurate to like actual pack.
All right.
Werewolf packs.
Well, how about this question? What about when, say, like let's say I was a werewolf, but I wasn't it was like a normal day. If I bite somebody, do they get infected, or they can only get affected if I'm a werewolf, like in form?
Only in form.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Wolf?
No.
With Jack Nicholson? And
no.
And you should watch. It's a very, very good movie, but it's like it's about werewolves, and Jack Nicholson is a wolf or whatever. But he was making love to the girl, and and she became a wolf through intimacy. So they say that like through intimacy, in that story, you can become infected.
Yeah.
And
there's different ways. I know a little bit more about werewolves or wolves because I was randomly interested in it for a while, and and because of that, I have problems with most quote unquote werewolves, because a lot of them are either shifters, or it's like, what are you doing with like this whole alpha, omega, beta? Like that's not really a thing of how you're portraying it. Like another male, okay, they're going to like territory. Wolves will fight, but if it's in their territory, the father is not likely to fight his 1-year-old son. Like,
I mean,
that's not.
They'll putting up fists. It's happening.
Or paws and claws.
If he puts up fists.
Yeah, I mean, well, so like unless the father is really sick or old, the other male wolf is not really going to kill him. There were also I was watching David Attenborough.
Yeah.
Sir David Attenborough. And they had that one of them with wolves in the Arctic Circle, and they actually, this one wolf pack invited another non-relative female in because the alpha female birthed a lot of babies. And well, that's not how that works. That can't be how it works. Well, it obviously did. So you need to do some more research on how that works with actual wolves. But whatever. Me looking at being believable and realistic. Like my werewolves are not psycho and are not annoying, and there's flexibility. And I just can't stand where the hierarchy is so strict that if one of them looks for too long at the alpha is going to rip out that wolf's throat. That's not how that works. I think that's just stupid. I mean, you're adding in conflict, but like, at what cost?
What cost?
At what cost, Thomas?
Listen, if you're watching True Blood,
They weren't that bad.
eh,
I read the book.
they were
I barely
shifted.
remember. Well, I barely remember the show. The books are not that horrible.
They on that show, if they're not considered shifters or changelings, they were definitely wolf weres and not werewolves, because they could turn into a wolf or a man, whereas a werewolf would be a humanoid version of a man that is part man, part wolf. So that was always like annoying. I was always like, well, these aren't real werewolves. These are wolf weres. You know? So that disappointed me. But also, I'll be honest, the first season I was like almost into it, right? And then like it looked like they killed Lafayette, and I know he dies in the first book, but I was just like,
I know they kept him.
Yeah, well, in the show they kept him, but in the books he dies in the book. But in the show, and he was like literally the best character in the show. And then I was like, I guess someone told me that he lives. They're gonna bring him back. So I was like, all right, I'll watch the second season. That season was like, let's just do everything with sex, and I'm okay. I'm okay with, like, you know, I'm okay being a nudist. I'm okay with, I'm a polyamorous person. I love intimacy. I love love. I love, sensuality. But that show was just like, how do we get the entire town to just have one big orgy? Let's slowly build up to that. And that's all that season was just sex and no plot. And then it ends with Sam putting his hand through the woman's chest he was like a water buffalo. And then he's standing there naked, covered in blood, with his hands through her chest. And I was like, this is a terrible show. But I was so involved already. And like all my friends were watching it, and it was like something we could talk about. So the conversation just turned negative. And we were like, now we have to watch the third season, because just to see how bad it is. And I ended up going through all 5 seasons begrudgingly. And long story short, recently, probably like last year, I was like, let me give the show another try, because like I'm more mature. I have a different approach to write. Like I'm more in my writer brain, and I've actually worked on television. So like maybe I'll look at it differently. But by the time I got to the end of the last episode in season 1, I was just like, I remember why I stopped watching this show.
Yeah. The book series is better, but it's also like, it's fun. It's not like making like amazing statements or anything like that. It's like entertainment. I'm gonna turn off my brain, which for the time that I was reading that book, where I was having like existential crises like every other day, going through really intense therapy, that was fantastic. Therefore, like most of those books are either 4 or 5 stars, because I just did not want to think too deep on anything, because that's what I was doing weekly in therapy. So those were really fun. And then I only kept the first and second season of True Blood, and then it just was not good.
Yeah, I mean,
I just did not buy the other seasons.
The hardest thing to quote unquote buy in that entire show, from the beginning to the end, is every single character was something, except for the redheaded waitress who falls in love with the guy with PTSD, who ends up Oh, those are probably the only two characters. But the grandmother ended up being something, and then Suki's grandfather was like the king of the fairies or something like that. And then like the big bad that they were talking about for like seasons showing up ended up being just somebody that falls in love with her, but like, then he's like, all right, well, I'm the bad guy, so we have to have some sort of conflict. And then, you know, well, whatever. It was just, it is what it is. But Suki is a fairy in the show, but in the book, she's not, or at least I don't remember her being a fairy and having like light power. She just could read people's minds. And
there's fairies involved. There's like shifters and all that stuff involved in the books, but like I guess she's kind of like Tessa in the way that she has like a certain amount of fae blood in her, that they have like this one magical ability, but she's immortal. She's a human enough.
Yeah.
Just like she's going to die.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the show, they made her have like this ability with light that can shine off evil, and
that's dumb. I don't even remember that. I blacked that out.
It was more towards like when Bill became like, when he drank from Lilith and became like a super god.
That like that's not the stuff isn't in the books.
No, but Bill became
like so in the popular. Books. The books are like you're solving a problem that's magical of every book type of thing, which is in part like it's urban fantasy, contemporary fantasy, where it's like it's either you're solving a mystery, you're solving a problem, or being assassin / slayer is kind of solving a problem. But those three things. And so every book she's helping someone figure out a problem. It's magical, and then at the end it's good to go. But then there's also like the who's she gonna end up with? So that's on for like 16 books.
Well, she does end up with Eric in the books at multiple points, but
but at the end she doesn't end up with anyone magical because she wants to have babies.
Yeah, she wants to have the kids. Well, in the show, she ends up with somebody and she gets pregnant, and then she kills Bill. Yeah, Sam. She kills Bill. He goes, "You have to. If you don't take me out, you'll never be able to have a real life." And then she's just like sitting on him, and then she just sticks him, and he turns the blood, and then that's how they show it. But in the book, he wasn't a major character, right?
Oh no, Bill and Eric and Sam were throughout like the whole thing. I love Eric, but it's like not for her because she is a human. She's not going to be turned, so she's not going to choose a vampire. That would be weird. That's the same thing for Tessa. She's like, I love being human, so I'm not having sex or being with Bloodsworth because that's also just like I'm not into 500-year-olds.
Well, yeah,
which is a hard concept. No, she's 22.
Yeah, but he would be a pedophile in comparison because he's 500 years old and she's a child. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta change the mental. It's like, again, if you go back to Twilight, he's 250 years old and she's 16, and people are like, that's gross. And you're like, yeah, but if she was 20, it's still gross because they don't have the same life. That's why they say you should only date people half your age plus 5 is the youngest you can go. So, I'm 46. So, what's that? That's 23. That's 28 is the lowest I can go. Right. And then it gets into weird territory because like you could be grooming them, and that's not. So if you're talking about a 500-year-old vampire hanging out with a 20-year-old person, there's no way she has enough lived experience to understand the complexity of his numbness to trivial things that to us are world changing. There's just no way, it's like I write God, like gods are physically in my world. Not that it's ever known that they are a god, or maybe the audience knows, but like the character doesn't. but those characters can't even you know what I'm saying? Like, they're immortal. They've been around for since the dawn of time, and
Mm-hmm.
people are still fighting one another. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no way a God's like, no, I get it. I get it. You want that land. I totally understand. But you're also going to die in like 40 years. So, like, why do you want that land? Like, when you die, who gets it? And they're like, my children. You're like, yeah, but your children aren't going to procreate because one of them gets sick. Like, the God, you know, the God's like, why? You don't even own the land. And the people are like, yeah, we do. And you're like, no, you're animals that I created to help, you know, facilitate the nurturing of the world. And they're like, what? And then they get mad at the God. The gods don't control me. And they're like, we don't control you, but you know, like
Yeah.
you know, like, you guys worry about things that anyone would worry about. If your lifespan was 70 years, you know, you have 70 summers, like, you're worrying about a lot of stuff because you have, but you know, the moment you're immortal, there's no way Bloodsworth is thinking about, like, you know, if the Dow goes down another 10 points, there's just no
Yeah,
way.
he doesn't care.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
He's already rich.
that's what I thought he was Thomas. Because he said he's rich. Anyway,
Oh yeah.
but that's a name. But still, let's say he wasn't rich. Like, he probably, that wouldn't be a concern for him because, like, money, there's no way money influences his life. He chooses to have it influence his life, but it's not. He's so powerful, you know.
Mhm.
Like, there's like,
Yeah.
you know, oh, I have no place to live. All right, I will sleep in the graveyard because that's not weird to me, you know. Like, or I will just manipulate somebody to let me live in their house for free because I can, you know, mess with their mind, or seduce them to be like, come on in. I don't know if you have the they can only enter if they have permission rule, but let's assume that uh, uh, you know, vampires are like that. Like, he could do that, and he has 500 years experience seducing stupid humans. You know, like, you know, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
just on another level, which I think is great as a writer, though. Like, to have to write that, which again, it's like writing a smart character, and you know, I know you're smart, and I know I'm smart, but if we're writing somebody that's on an intellectual level that we have to create gibberish for just to make them sound smart. You know, like, we have to make up gibberish so people are like, what does that mean? And then you have to have a dumb character be like, let me explain in world craziness, you know. You know, but we're not thinking on Einstein's level. There's just no way our brains can see the world like Einstein. It just can't, because we're not, you know, even though we're both neurodivergents, we're not Einstein neurodivergent. You know, his intelligence was so high. It was just the calculations that he was seeing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we'd be like, "Oh, I like color. I like red." Said, did you know that the subtext of a black hole's total equational weight of its inner, and you're just
Yeah, that's fine.
But we're writers, and we get to write that. We have to write Albert Einstein's. You know,
I'm not putting those in because that wouldn't work.
well, you know what I'm saying.
I'm like, that's not realistic. I'm just gonna not put those in because I'd fuck that up.
Yeah, but you have smart characters. You know, like, you have, but you have them smart in other ways. Like, Tessa is an intelligent character, but you wouldn't say she's genius level IQ. She doesn't behave like a genius level IQ character, but she is intelligent because she can see patterns and she can see clues coming together, and you know, she's self-sufficient, and she can survive, and she's capable. Those are smart elements. But there is a certain point where a character is not thinking the same way. You know, like, imagine having to write Sherlock Holmes. Like, you can't just make him smart. Like, there's behavioral changes to us to intelligence, just like there's behavioral changes to somebody who's not intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But I'd love to write Bloodsworth just as like just talking about it now, just the idea of like writing this immortal, you know?
Yeah, he's pretty fab. Yeah, I do say so myself. But he well, in the second book, he does talk about how he basically is continually practicing mindfulness and Zen Buddhism to just chill the fuck out. So, and so that's why he's more chill than other vampires. Not all vampires are like him, which we'll be discovering in the 6th book. But a lot of them are, after a certain point, like they either go crazy or they are malicious or they just kind of chill out like Bloodsworth, or they do crime, which is mischievous. Not really. Crime, being a criminal is different than being mischievous, but like there's different ways to go. And he just chose the chill one. But of course you would go the chill way, and that you can be level-headed, and that's why he's a detective, because you're not going to choose the bloodthirsty vampire to be a detective for the Queen and King of the Fae. Like that's not going to happen. So already there's some expectations for him to behave.
Yeah, to not be like, I'm thirsty, so I'm just going to drink somebody. I have in my world, there's the Lyris, the vampires that actually get their power from the sun, but they also drink blood that can make them stronger, and they harvest people. They like have these villages of people, and like the people can live in the villages, but they're protected by the Lyris, but they're just basically the herd. They're just sheep, and they just eat off of these people, and which is an interesting thing narratively, where the people are in a symbiotic relationship with these monsters, but they're like, well, they don't kill us. They just kind of feed on us and also use us, but they protect us. They become this Stockholm syndrome. So I think that's interesting. That's like an interesting narrative.
Yeah. I mean, that's similar for a lot of books with vampires.
Yeah.
Because they think it's yummy food. So of course, then you're gonna go like the steps 2 would be, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna either do like a whole livestock situation, or like I befriend, or like coerce, befriend, whatever, depending on the story, these group of people, and then like they live with the vampire, and like it's like an interesting relationship, but it works.
Yeah. The more traditional vampires, like the ones that like are can't go in the sun, those have like servants, or or a lover, or they have like the kind of traditional kind of, if you look at the random vampires. But the Lyris are very much, they just happen to be vampires, but they also have this, because they get the powers from the 2 sons, and they're also they're friendlier, if that makes sense. Not that like the other vampires are quote unquote evil, because there's variations of behavior, but the Lyris are more integrated into society, whereas the other ones are more isolated. They're apex predators, so they're more like they have their covenant, but they don't necessarily live among the people, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's a great way to wrap it up, because we went way over, but that's totally fine. That's how we rock and roll. So we're gonna say goodbye for now, and hopefully my internet can hold a webcam or next time. But at least I didn't drop off like the the first 5 minutes. That was a hot mess, but it's okay. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you next Thursday at the same time for being productive and chatting
Bye.
and both stuff. Bye-bye.